What is
What kind of beer do you got, Jason?
Right
Jason,
into it.
right before this episode, he said, no introductions this time, introduce the beers. He wants to drink his beer. So you don't get to hear who we are. Jason, what do you got?
Today I am drinking a juicy banger IPA from Station 26. I love this beer.
Is that already open?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now
I
it's shaking
have
up the-
another crispy tall boy. You'll remember this from episode
last year.
77 or whatever that was. All right, crack them. It's from Jasper Brewing. I talked about it.
Nice. I like this. This is
Jasper
better.
Brewing.
We always do all this banter at the top, and all I want is to drink my beer. This is good.
I know. It's been a long work day.
Yeah, it really
We've been
has.
sitting in the office doing nothing.
So yeah, welcome. This is the Beer
Thank you.
Garden. We're drinking some beers. This is going to be our first episode of 2025. We took a little hiatus here at the top of the new year so that we could do some annual planning, some travel, a little bit of vacation. Really, so we could just
A
take
little bit
break.
of annual planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had
So-
plans while we were on vacation to do some recording.
multiple
Jason
episodes.
made me carry my microphone all the way to El Salvador and the Dominican Republic, all around the countries for a month, because we were meeting up in the Dominican Republic, and we didn't even record anything. I just carried. Look at the size of this this microphone. It's huge to carry that thing around. That
Yeah.
was inappropriate.
Same. Yeah, I felt real dumb when I got back to the States unpacking my microphone that had been sitting in the bottom of my
It's like
bag. the
fragile
entire
too.
time.
You can't
Yeah.
just travel with that thing.
We talked about recording like quite a bit actually. We like that should count for something. We talked about it. We just didn't do it.
Here's what happened. So we had a guest planned. I'm not going to announce the name because it's a pretty big name. And we were at a resort with this guy for 3 days or more. And instead of recording the podcast, we tried to learn how to surf and we drank beers and we just never did it. So it was like the best opportunity of our podcasting careers so far.
Yeah, beautiful scenery.
Beautiful scenery. Much better than my garage and Jason's office full of boxes. And we let it pass us by. But you know what? Opportunities are like the bus. There's another one right around the corner.
I like that. That is the most optimistic thing I've heard you say. That's really good.
2025. Gotta start the year right.
So tell me a little bit about what you've been up to. It's been a long break. I know most of what you've been up to. Tell them what you've been up to and what the last couple of months have looked like for you.
Okay. Well, the holidays were good. So we were gone for a month. And we went to El Salvador first, Michelle and I. 2 weeks there. We were staying at our friend Hector's house. Really cool. Highly recommend El Salvador. It's completely changed. It was a super dangerous country, and now it's extremely safe. The president Bukele is really pretty cool and cleaning up the place. So highly recommend checking it out for travel. And then we went to the Dominican Republic for the BTA Winter Summit, which is the peer group coaching group that Jason and I met in many years ago. And we were in Dominican for 2 weeks, and Jason met us over there. So that was a lot of fun. I also went to the RV show last weekend in Calgary, looked at some RVs. And, I've been researching motorhomes for like 2 years.
This has been
back from like Class A's, like big, huge, like, retiree kind of size ones that you see like, older folks, and off-road ones like the Earth Roamer style kind of things. Not those are too expensive, but the cheap version. And then we get there, and almost immediately Michelle says, "I think I like fifth wheels better." I was like, you know how many like open tabs I have in my and bookmarks? So all that to figure out that I have to buy a fifth wheel someday.
It's hard to tow a mobile studio behind a fifth wheel, though. Just saying.
In Alberta and Saskatchewan, I bet in Colorado, you can tow two trailers. So it's just about getting a big truck.
I know you can. I'm just there's a lot of things you can do. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't do that in British Columbia. I think that's the only province. Boo. BC. What else? I don't know.
That's all you had. You did prep before.
No, I do have some prep. I'm reading my notes here.
All right.
I'm going to the Seattle Boat Show next weekend. So I'm just going RV shows, boat shows. So I'll be in Seattle February 5th to 10th. If anybody sees this out of our, what are we up to? 4 listeners or so? No?
Dozens and dozens.
Literally dozens of listeners. If any of you are in Seattle and want to hang out, look me up. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to look at Nordhaven. That's what I've learned. I learned that in the Dominican from Devin Ward. He's my new boat friend that knows stuff about boats, and those are really cool. So I'm going to check that out. And I'm going also to Austin soon. I have a lot of travel plans coming up. I'm going to Austin for South by Southwest to see Dignation, my favorite podcast. Dignation is the shit. Second favorite podcast. Sorry about that, Jason. Yeah, I think that's it.
Wow.
I have one note for I wrote down before this, what's new, so I could remember what to bring up. And I wrote one down for you.
Good. Good, because I did not take any notes. No,
I have written here. Jason got new floors.
Thank you for that. I did get new floors. That is why my office is filled with boxes and furniture right now, because we had to take everything off of the wood floors. So that's happening. Actually, that happened. They look very nice. Shout out to Lane Gifford Flooring, who did our floors. And yeah, so we got new floors. Now our furniture is still just sitting piled up in the kitchen and my office because I need to put on all of the baseboards and trim boards. So I've got a lot of home projects going on right now. Yeah, that happened. I also went to the Dominican. I did not get to do the El Salvador portion of the trip. I'm kind of jealous of that. Dominican was awesome though. Had a great time down there. Did some strat planning with some other trades folks for the BTA Winter Summit. A lot of fun there. Just got to hang out with a bunch of, degenerate tradespeople like us, hanging out in a tropical location in the pool, and then made a cool little trip north to a very cool eco lodge where Brandon and Michelle and I stayed with some of our other friends whose names I won't mention because they're going to be potential guests on the podcast here soon.
Close call.
Yeah. So
highlight of the part in Dominican at the resort.
Which resort? The all-inclusive resort or the eco lodge?
Yeah, the all-inclusive.
Okay.
Is the highlight of that.
Highlight of that. Highlight of the convention, I would say, would be Marcus Sheridan's talk. I really enjoyed Marcus Sheridan's keynote speech. Really good stuff about, just kind of a lot of the things that we've preached on this podcast, actually, about removing friction for your customers, being upfront in your pricing and creating an environment where it's super easy to buy from you and you have put all the answers to the questions that they inevitably have, get them out there before they have to even ask you those. So he wrote a great book called They Ask, You Answer. I would recommend that. Hopefully we can get him as a guest on this podcast at some point. That would be my highlight of the convention. Highlight of the actual time at the resort, I'm actually going to say, just because you really got me on this. I don't know if it's a highlight, but I came back to my room, which was a garden, first floor. So it opens straight up to the beach and the pool and everything else. And I never locked my back door because I would just walk in and out of my back door.
Your patio door at ground level, yeah.
So I came back to my room, walked in the patio door, and all of my things were strewn about my room as if someone really did a poor job of robbing me. And then I look a little bit closer, and there's someone laying in my bed, and there's a can of Pringles sitting next to them, half opened or opened and half eaten. And I had this fear the whole time that one of these times I was going to walk into the wrong balcony door. So for a split second, I was certain I just walked into the wrong room and started slowly backing out. And then I realized it was all my stuff everywhere, and it was actually just a bunch of towels that had been arranged to look like there was a person laying in my bed. So, and then I was convinced actually that it wasn't Brandon that did it, and I blamed someone else, innocent bystander, that it was them. I should have known right away that it was Brandon.
That was the time of my life.
What was the highlight of your year?
The highlight of the trip, or the all-inclusive thing for me, was soccer darts, I would say.
Yeah,
where
that was pretty
kick a soccer ball at a huge inflated dartboard. That was pretty fun. And I got like 2 bullseyes, I would say. I played it more than most people, but I got 2. And the actual part where we learned stuff, I would say the round table.
Yeah,
that was pretty fun, pretty good. And that's
round table, like the actual strat planning day, the 8-hour session.
Yeah.
Like with
yeah. So we do all this. We do all this prep work on our businesses. What our focuses are for 2025 and so on, and share our past year's results before the trip, and then you're paired up with like 3 or 4 other businesses, and then we didn't even have a round table, rectangle table that we sat around, and then we just each have an hour, and we give feedback on our plans and kind of discuss any holes or anything that each business owner might be seeing. So yeah, I liked that.
Cool.
It was all new people too, so it was good.
Nice, awesome. Well, today we thought it would be appropriate, coming back into the new year, to do a little bit of like an annual state of the industry, but in true beer garden fashion. If for anyone that knows Brandon and I, we've done 0 prep work for this episode, and in fact, we're going to be using source material for this.
Quite impressive then.
Yeah,
knowing that I did prep work for what's new with me. I did write the bullet points for that.
That's true,
but not the actual episode.
That's true. So what we're going to be doing, this has the potential to go really off the rails here.
Can you send me the link for it?
I was going to share my screen.
The report. Oh, sure.
Yeah. No, I'll share it to you in the chat as well. But what we're going to do is we're actually just going to pull up the Lawn and Landscape State of the Industry report that they put together. This is actually a really great resource every year that they put together. And we've not read through this even prior to this. So we're literally just going to read through this together with you. We're going to kind of add our own color and
we should all read it though.
Takeaways. Yeah,
this is like the premier news outlet for the lawn and landscape industry, and the most important report of the year.
Yes, totally. Also, in true beer garden fashion, this report came out back in October of 2024, so we're just getting to it now, but it felt appropriate as we start the new year.
Right. Like raise your hands in the audience if you've read this yet or not. There's like nobody raising their hands.
Yeah. All right. Let's just get right into it. I'm going to share my screen. If you're listening on audio, that's fine. You don't really have to see this, but I would encourage you to head over to YouTube and follow us on YouTube. See how I worked in a shameless little plug
the imagery.
Sure. All right. So what we're looking at, the 2024 State of the Industry report. And basically what Lawn and Landscape does is they interview a pretty large segment of our industry, and they report on it. So we're going to go through this and just kind of we're going to read it together and do some of our key takeaways and expand on a lot of this. Like, we're not just literally going to read it to you. So let's dive right in.
We can't get sued for this, can we?
I don't know. I haven't checked. We should probably run this by legal after this. Our legal department. Michelle.
So, what was the most profitable service your location offered? What do you see here, Jason?
Yeah.
So before this episode, if this bombs, no one will ever hear this episode.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty surprised by the findings here. So the top reported most profitable services were landscape maintenance, so mowing, edging, trimming, and pruning. That's our bread and butter. And then also design build services, both coming in at 24% reported. Tree and ornamental, both installation and care, only came in at 3%. Landscape lighting came in at 3%. Irrigation, only 9% answered. And then these two really surprised me. Lawn care and chemical application, only 16% reported as their most profitable service, and snow and
That
ice
surprises you
management
because the number is low or high?
because it's low. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like,
That's
generally
the
what
highest service there is,
Yeah,
and landscape lighting also.
yeah, like lawn care maybe it's just that it's like the segment that they interviewed, like they just fewer people actually had a lawn care and chemical application program. So that's the
Well, that's
number
kind
was
of
small.
just crappy data then, isn't it? No
I
offense,
guess,
landscape,
yeah.
I mean, is that why, like, landscape maintenance shouldn't be, that's all, tied for first place? I wouldn't
I
expect
mean,
that to be the highest,
I
the
don't
most
know.
common service offered, but
I don't know. I would say like that is a trend I've been seeing in the last couple of years is that like first of all, landscape maintenance gross profit margin is always higher than design build. Like that's
like fighting words. I don't know if that's true, but somebody's going to get about that.
I mean, we know enough people who do both maintenance and design build, and I mean, design build's just so material heavy that it's really hard for their gross profit to be as high as our gross profit. Now, you could argue that they need less overhead than us because we've got a lot of services to manage, whereas they have larger AJS, so not as many services, but there's a lot of moving parts to design build. So landscape maintenance being high doesn't surprise me, actually. Like that's why I push so many people to just get into maintenance because it's what I know. But snow being as low as it is, only 10% saying that's their most profitable, and lawn care and chemical application being as low as it is, only 16% saying it's their most profitable. That was surprising to me.
What percentage of landscape companies do you think are bad at tracking their numbers and would not be able to report on this?
90,
More than just a
90%.
feeling.
That's
Okay, page
that's
4. Let's go to the next.
all right. On to the next. All right. This is probably my favorite page of the report. And before we even, so like the question is, in which state or province is your company located? And so, first of all, they've got like this grouped by West, so Western United States, Midwest, Southern United States, and Northeast United States. And then they just have Canada. But the beauty of the Canada one is that it seems that they've just highlighted.
What province is that? That's our biggest province. What province is that, Jason?
I almost said Toronto, but I know that that's not.
Oh my God, dude.
Toronto's over there
The most
in that
American thing.
province. It's
Yeah,
what is that? That's so like this is Ontario, right?
No.
Okay. Winnipeg? No,
Yeah,
Winnipeg's a city.
very good.
Or
Oh yeah,
okay.
Manitoba. Damn it. You got me good.
Yeah, Manitoba.
That's
Then
one
this
that not too many people think about, though. So
is
that's
this
okay.
Ontario?
Yep.
Okay. And then this would be Quebec? No, that's a city.
The map is just a little bit misshapen. They also just jammed they like took our country and just smushed it together to fit it on the page, thinking no one would notice.
All right, what is this?
But I don't know what that is. It's up there.
All right. Good. But my favorite part about this is the entire central and western side of Canada is just kind of grayed out as if it doesn't exist,
They
along
weren't
with
sure
the
what
Northern
it was.
Territories.
Yeah, they weren't sure what it was.
Yeah.
They
So
just
Canada,
said 6% Canada, and then there's like 2 provinces, and then
yeah,
Newfoundland is up for some reason shown.
right.
As it
So
should be. But
so there is oh, actually this answers our question here. So which of the following this is the same like interview group here. Which of the following services does your location currently offer? 87% offer lawn care and chemical application. And only 16% reported that that was their most profitable. That seems crazy to me. 82% do landscape maintenance, 77% design and construction, 62% irrigation, and 43% snow and ice management. Interesting. So this is another, like, I find this pretty interesting, this chart here. What is your age? I think this actually does highlight like a really good trend to be aware of. Personally, we've talked about it before, the old silver tsunami. So what is your age? First of all, 2% reported 75 or older. good for that person. Whoever
That
that
guy.
is. That's yeah, that's still running their business at 75 years or older.
That's nearly
But
my dad.
really,
He's still running his landscape company. He's like 69, I think.
okay, so he's in the
53? Yeah.
65 to 74 age bracket, which was 15% of respondents. 34%, the largest group that reported, was 55 to 64. So like nearing retirement age, if not at retirement age. And then 30% were 45 to 54. So like by far, and I think this is a pretty accurate summary of like the age of our industry. The highest reporting was 45 and above, by far.
Right.
Next is 35 to 44, and then barely any in the 25 to 34 range or under 25 range. So I think this is just highlights like a really important thing, which is like there's a lot of people nearing that age where they're going to be aging out of our industry, either through retirement or a sale. We've talked about this in other episodes, but like that represents a lot of opportunity in our industry, a lot of change in our industry, some consolidation, some opening up of the market. And I just think that's a very important metric to be aware of. So yeah, the
Yeah, I was
median
gonna mention the consolidation. That's why. Well, maybe there's more reasons, but that's one of the reasons you're seeing a lot of private equity coming in and buying up
Yeah.
a lot of service companies these days. Lots of
Yeah.
retirees and people selling their businesses, and their kids don't want to do landscaping.
Yeah, when private equity is coming in, they're one of their first questions is like,
How old are you?
well, no, yeah, but like when they're looking at an industry to come into, it's like, how quickly can we gain market share? And when you see that over half of the market is about to age out, the answer is like, well, pretty quickly. There's going to be a lot of people that want to
Right.
sell. So yeah, median age in our industry, at least as far as this report goes, was 56 years old.
Nice. And then whatever mean it means is 55.
Yeah, correct. So approximately what was your location's gross revenue in 2023? So looking back at the year prior, we've got, let's see, 26% reporting at 1 to 3.9, or I'm sorry, 26% reporting at more than 4 million, 26% reporting at 1 to 3.9 million, 9% at 500,000 to 999,000.
Dude, this doesn't make any sense.
I know.
How the
12%.
There's like, it's like 1% of landscape companies do over 4 million a year, or like 10%.
Yeah,
or
but
like 10%. So how can
you
this
know
be?
what though? It kind of does make sense. This is just their like interview segment, the people who they interviewed. So it's people who like participate. First of all, have the time to participate in a survey like this, like actually respond to it.
I gotta call these guys because this is maybe some bullshit here. You know, they go ask, they send the email out to like Brightview or something, who has a bajillion employees, and then half their employees reply to the survey, and they're like, we all do over 4 million in revenue, and then it totally skews the results.
That's true. That's fair. It's a fair point. They've got some survey
should-
methodology
Were
over
you
here.
thinking what I'm thinking? We should start
What?
a beer garden landscape report every year,
Yeah, I like it. Let's do it.
or every couple of years, or whenever we get around to it.
Yeah, exactly. That's more accurate. Whenever we get around.
But
The-
it'll be good. Graphics will be better. It'll include Canada.
The semi-annual when we want to state of the industry report.
Yeah, that could be good.
All right, well, you ready to move on to the next page? You feel
How
satisfied
many
with
pages
this one?
is this, dude? There's 13 pages. We better
We're
get
not
a
gonna
move on.
we're not gonna go
Get
through
to
all of them. See, like this one. This
What
is
do you
a
mean we're
pretty
not
easy
going to
one.
do all of them?
How confident are
Please.
you that your location's business will grow revenue in the coming year? So 43% said, so this is really just like, how confident are you in growth right now? So 43% very confident, 25% confident, 23% somewhat confident, and 8% not at all confident, which is the saddest
Oh,
answer.
those poor guys.
Anything to add to that?
I mean, that's pretty clear.
Yeah. So generally people feel
Read the
good.
season recap on your own. There's a lot of text on there.
Yeah, there's so much text, way more than we can be expected to read.
Annie
All right.
Bamberger, what does she have to say?
So I think I gotta zoom in for this, but this chart on the right I think is actually worth like highlighting here a bit. How concerned are you about the impact of each of these issues on your location's business in the next 3 years? So I'm not going to read them all, but the top ones are high fuel prices. So very concerned about that. Quality labor shortage, high workers' compensation costs, economic recession, high health insurance cost, and lowball competitors are like the top one, two, three, four, five, six. I don't know why I chose the top six, but those are the top six. What it
What are
does
some of yours, like in your business in Denver?
um what are my largest concerns?
Yeah, like, well, let me frame that a little different. So when I look at this and I see high fuel prices at the top,
Mhm.
there's a few things. There's a few things that stand out. So we got high fuel prices, um, and just there's some of these that are just like environmental and out of your control. You know,
Yeah.
like, what are you going to do about high fuel prices?
Yeah,
Which
but
is
there's still
probably like,
threats, right?
yeah, yeah, but it's like 2 to 4% or something of your annual revenue.
Right.
Like, how concerned are you? You think it's going to go to like $40 a gallon for fuel or something? It's going to ruin your, like,
Right.
what are you going to do about it? You could stop idling a little bit. But you know, I kind of like shake my head a little bit when people focus on things that are such a small um, piece of their revenue. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like a headline issue that everybody can relate to, and there's, you know,
Exactly
billboards
right.
along the road that's like, it went up. So I would be much more concerned about, you know, some of the other things like
Labor
lower margins on
shortage,
work, labor
economic
shortage.
recession.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, bad weather is on here. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
we're landscapers. I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So, I mean,
I
this is a good list to read off of. I'd almost read it without the rating, and then just earmark ones that are like actually high impact to the business, like revenue wise, and that you can think of some things you can take action on.
yeah. That's exactly right. Like I'm glad you made that point about like the things that you'll be able to take action on. Like to me, the ones that stand out is like labor shortage is always one that's on the top of your mind, right? Like, and we'll do a whole episode on that, hiring in a competitive market, that sort of thing. But like, that is probably your largest expense is labor. So like, that's an issue. Like, you got to be able to hire good labor. You got to be able, like, the tighter the labor market goes, the more you're going to have to pay to get the labor that's there, right? Like, and that's just the way it goes. So like what are you doing to combat that now before it becomes a real issue? And I think that's important. Same thing with the economic recession. Like you can't control an economic downturn. You can't control a global pandemic. You can't control those things. But like what are you putting in place should those things happen? And there are things that you can do. Like I see a lot of guys who already are seeing a downturn in like really large AJS jobs. So they're just restructuring their business to focus more on smaller AJS jobs, the things that take a lot longer to go away because it's less of a like a challenge on the pocketbook in a downturn and recession. So yeah, I think very valid point there.
Good one. Yeah, finally something of value here. Page 7. What's page 7? See a
I don't.
zero turn on it.
I think it might be an ad.
Check it.
Yep.
Oh, what do you think of
Kubota.
that Kubota stander?
I've not seen these in real
I'm not
life.
really a fan. Yeah,
Uh,
I like
I don't-
Kubota, like ag tractors. I think
yeah.
those are good. Deere's okay too, but I don't know if I would buy a mower from them. You know,
No, it looks pretty bulky, does it not? Like I like to
I don't
be
know.
pretty agile. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
Like
I just don't like
this,
it. I don't know
maybe
why.
it's
What
the
is that? Yeah, what the hell is that? Is
that's
that
I
to
think
raise the
that's
deck?
I think it is. I think it's a deck control arm, but that is like just waiting to get bent to shit.
I think that might be a machete. You pull that out, that's a machete holster.
Oh, all right. Well, that makes sense then.
When we were in El Salvador, man, people were using machetes just for your regular tree pruning, like at the Walmart parking lot. It was crazy. Just kidding.
All right. How concerned are you about the impact of a quality labor shortage on your location's business in the next 3 years? 26% said very concerned. 28% said slightly less than very concerned. So, like the bulk of people, I guess here the moral of this is the
They're
bulk of people are
concerned.
really
Okay.
concerned about it. Yeah, and I would just go back to what we just said. Like, what are you doing about it? Like, what are you
What are
doing to
you
become?
doing about it? What are you doing about it, Jason? Are
Yeah,
you just wait. Answer the question first. 5 is very concerned. 1 is not at all concerned. Where do you land on this scale here?
concerned is a hard word. I would say like 3. I'm aware of the fact that it's a possibility. So like 3 or 2. I'm aware of the fact that it's a possibility, but I'm confident in my organization's ability to overcome that.
And what kind of things might you do, or do you do maybe?
First of all, we're like always actively hiring, even now when the labor market's not as tight as it would be in like a really tight shortage. So we're always interviewing, we're always hiring, and just making sure that we stay in contact with really good candidates. The other side of that I would say is like just doing what you can to position yourself as a company that people want to work for. You've heard that called before like a destination company. I think you've done a really good job of that. But just like building a culture that people want to be a part of, building, being a decent person as far as like, in my opinion, like a decent employer, as far as like, think about what you would want working somewhere. Like, you're not underpaying. You're like, if you can justify paying a lot more if you're getting really quality people, like, right? Like if you have people who are really crushing it in the field, you can justify paying them a lot more. And so just like take that approach rather than the like trying to penny pinch every dollar out of your staff in the field. We pay very competitively at our company. And then, simple things like benefits and those sorts of things. But like most importantly, I think is just having like a really established process for like how you recruit, how you hire, those sorts of things, because that's going to matter. Like it's just like your sales and marketing funnel, right? It's the exact same thing. What about you?
Like one like all the things you mentioned are super important. So definitely having a really strong culture, people that want to work hard together and want to have be part of something high performing. They want to help build a big business and be proud of it. That's easier said than done, but it is the way to go. And then like an actual tactical thing would be having an applicant tracking system. That's like a tool that you could use, and you could make one on a spreadsheet if you're a smaller business. But you'll see it referred to as an ATS, or applicant tracking system, and it's there's many out there. I'm not going to name drop any because I don't need to promote their businesses for them, but it basically, every applicant that applies gets logged in this database, kind of like a CRM, and then it tracks them all the way through to when they actually work for you. So when you have people applying for work with you and you're not hiring, or maybe you interview somebody that applied to be a crew leader and they're not eligible to be a crew leader, but you don't have a laborer position open, like those kind of things happen all the time, and you have to turn down a potentially great laborer applicant because you don't have a crew leader spot. Those things happen, and over the years you build up a huge database if you're keeping track of all those people and you're rating them and putting a note and saying like, don't, maybe the rating is like, don't ever bring this person in for an interview again, or it's like, this person would make a great crew leader applicant. And then by the time you a couple of years in, you have maybe hundreds of people who have applied. You can reach into that pool and just say, hey, we're hiring for a crew leader. Come to our hiring event, or our hiring barbecue, I think we talked about in another episode. So maintaining a really big pool of applicants is huge, I would say.
Yeah.
That's
Good point.
All I got for right now.
I would also just add, like, this seems obvious and maybe a little cruel, but it's like, get your house in order now while while the labor market's like a little bit more flexible, right? Like what I mean by that is if you've got bad apples on your staff now, get rid of them. Like the best thing you can do, in my opinion, to increase like employee morale and retention and those sorts of things is like surround them with good people. And I will say, like, I think this is an area that frankly everyone can improve on, but we could definitely improve on at our organization. Is like I think sometimes like empathetic, like compassionate people want to like build and develop their team and like hold on to people and get them there. And there's a certain like to a certain extent you do need to do that. But like if there's clear bad, I'm not talking about like they lack in the skill set. I'm talking about like they don't fit the culture. They're a bad fit. They're a bad apple. Like they're not like the right fit for your organization. Get them out now and get someone in who is. I think that'll like
okay.
don't.
Now we're getting into it. Now I've
Yeah.
got I had the favorite person that I ever fired from my business this was years ago. My proudest, not favorite is a strong word. My proudest firing ever. And I don't like firing people. I really don't. But the guy was our most productive employee, I would say. He was just by far the fastest, like the best equipment operator. He just simply produced the most work, but he was a total jerk. And like he showed up every day, he was on time, all those things. He was a total jerk, just a total mood hoover is what our ops manager Erica would call him, a mood hoover. So he was just a buzzkill, and everybody dreaded working with him, and no one thought that I would ever let this guy go because he produced so much work. And I still terminated him. And just the view of that on the rest of the employees, where they're like, wow, he actually, I assume it's like he actually kind of walks the talk, right? So that one felt really good. And then I think that companies get in this spiral of bad employees because they get like a critical mass of them. And then you finally hire like somebody that is good. They're a really good fit. They want to help you build your business even as a laborer and grow with you. And they buy into your story in the interview and they trust you as a guy. And then you put them in a truck with these people that smoke meth at lunch or whatever, whoever you have on your team. And they're like, wow, or, as an exaggeration, but maybe, but they, like good people don't want to work with people like that. And those individuals will find a new company to work for right away. So to your point, like just prepare yourselves for having good people by cleaning up your house and getting rid of the bad ones. And remember that, your responsibility isn't for that one individual, but for the entire company and team. So when you have to let somebody go, it's for the betterment of everybody else.
Love that. Nice. This is an interesting one. Is there an exit strategy, an articulated plan to sell your location's business? So 40% said no, 51% said yes, 7% said do not know. This is interesting because it sounds
It's
like
interesting that 7% do not know.
Well, no, I think because I think there's employees filling this out. And so I think that's why it's interesting to me is like, is there an exit strategy, an articulated plan to sell your location's business? So like, I think they could be positioning this to employees who are filling this out. And like, that's interesting to me is like, do the employees know? Is there an exit strategy? Like, where's it going?
Sure.
I think this is kind of an interesting one. It's a pretty close split. Like 51% actually say yes. That's kind of surprising to me that it's that high, actually.
Me too.
51% are saying yes. Yeah, I think I don't know really what to expand on that other than just I find it very interesting.
The question is a little bit weird too. Like an exit strategy doesn't have to be sell necessarily, right? It could be a succession. I guess it's kind of I don't know, not necessarily a sale, succession to your kids or something like that, right?
Yeah.
In the past 3 years, have you been approached about selling your business? 44% yes.
This one's also surprising to me that 56% said no. I actually would expect that it's much higher on the yes side. Like I don't.
Really?
Yeah,
Because
I'm not
it's so many
saying.
small companies.
Yeah, but I'm not saying like seriously. I get like probably a dozen emails a week from VC, from like venture capitalists,
You
from
kidding?
like
The hell are you
private
waiting for,
equity.
dude? Just kidding.
It's, I mean, a lot of it's just like I recognize it at this point, like it's like phishing emails, right? Not phishing like a spam, like scam or anything, but it's just like it's cold outreach, right? It's like a bunch of just like blast a wide
Like
net.
not pH fishing,
Yeah,
just fishing with an F.
yeah,
No fishing.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. It's like cold emails, right? They got a list that was like these people own landscape companies. Send them all an email asking them if they want to sell. Like
Right.
that to me, like I feel like way more people have to get those than just me.
I
But
don't know. I don't think that's really being approached. That's like saying, I don't know. You get spam emails from everybody, but being approached is actually like, I don't know, somebody knocking on your door or
right.
actually getting you on the phone or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But that brings
I'm
up
still
another good point about this survey. It's not clear. The data is broken.
We're gonna get a contact from Lawn and Landscape's attorney that's just like,
well,
shut
we already
it
talked
down.
about that. We're going to be competitors to Lawn and Landscape.
Yeah, we're
this
gonna
report,
start,
anyways. Ours will be a
start
one
our
pager.
report. It's the supposed report. All right. Does your company currently have private equity investors? 6% said yes, 94% said no. I think this is one that you're going to start to see change over the next 3 to 5 years. Like you're going to start seeing that 6% grow and grow and grow and grow. Like we all seen it. Private equities coming into the space pretty aggressively. Anything to add there?
I'm excited about making our own version of this. That's all. Like half of my brain right now is building our version of this report.
It's
like headline. What's better, X mark or right?
It's not even gonna be like if it's like how we rate our beers. This is a good like good measure for how we're gonna put a survey together. The equivalent is it's just gonna be a graph that makes no sense. It's like, are you confident in the coming years? Yes, 73, 9. Like a hodgepodge
Banana.
of answers that don't make any sense. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
page 10.
Yeah, page 10. Well, this just appears to be a story. Oh, okay. Do you anticipate your this one's confusing to me. Like, is this different than the previous one, or are they talking real estate here? Do you anticipate the sign makes me think real estate? Do you anticipate your location's business will be sold in the next 10 years?
Let's just go to the next one. This one sucks.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. Cool.
Who's reading this? Jesus, this is like it's taking me a year to get through. I'm glad I'm doing it with you guys.
I love that this is what you notice about that. Like, there's just so much text in this magazine. This magazine has so much text. Where are all the pictures? All right. Approximately what percentage of your location's gross revenue come from each of the following services? Landscape and mowing maintenance. Wait, so this is gross revenue. This should have been back on the first page with the net or the profit one. Like, why would you not? Yeah, well, you're right.
Obviously, we know better.
Yeah. All right. Landscape and mowing maintenance, 39%. So that's the top contender for gross revenue. Landscape design and construction, 25%. Lawn care and chemical application, 13%. Irrigation installation and maintenance, 8%. Snow and ice, 6%. Trees and ornamental, 4%. Holiday lighting, 1%. Other, 5%. What is the other?
What could that be?
I guess
what about poop and scooping?
Yeah. Is that now? That is kind of like part of our industry now, isn't it? Like it's like made its way into landscaping.
If you don't do it with a pooper scooper, you do it with your mower or your weed whacker. That's even worse.
Right, that's true.
You ever weed whacked? Let's not get into that.
100%.
It's terrible.
We used to serve at Chipotle, and
God,
and there was like a dumpster, and all inevitably like the trash didn't all make it in a dumpster. It would end up behind it. Well, behind the dumpster was this little narrow strip of grass that could only be trimmed, and it would get really long. And so you'd go through, and all of a sudden you'd be flinging up like wet paper with like chicken bits on it, and then like dog or human feces.
Jason
Like who
has a
knows? Like,
phobia of like not even just wet like paper, but like wet leaves and
wet
stuff.
vegetation, wet foliage freaks me
That's
out.
the
I hate it.
silliest phobia I've ever heard.
No, I think it comes from just all that shit touching me when I'm out. I'm not a fan.
That should be wet Chipotle wrappers or whatever.
That was
Page
Mark.
12. Page 12. Let's go to the next.
I really want to highlight.
Oh my God, this is we're almost through it.
I know.
Slow down.
This quote, just I find hilarious. Nothing's the same cost as it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
I don't get it. Is there like some more to that?
No, that's it. I think that's it.
Not much depth to that.
Yeah. No.
Justin Berg.
All right. Someone's going to contact us with that cease and desist.
I bet he's
right.
good. Good guy. I just don't like the quote they chose.
Good guy, though. Great guy, though.
Well, I mean, it's probably not his fault. They took it out of context.
Yeah.
Lawn and Landscape's fault.
I bet if you read all this text, it would make more sense, but we're not going to do that. Let's go on to page 12. All right. Did your location turn a profit? Oh, this one's interesting. How many people do you think were honest about this? Did your location turn a profit? Yes, 88%. No, 11%.
How many people do I think were honest?
Yeah, how many people? Do you think everyone was honest about that?
I go back to my earlier statement about, I don't think landscape, many like trades businesses, I'll just say, or probably many businesses, period, small businesses, track their numbers well enough to know if they even actually had a profit or not. They just look in their bank account, and if there's a positive number in it, they think they're doing okay.
Profit.
Like, no, I'm talking about, I don't know. It's just,
yeah,
a lot of, a lot of like trades businesses, you're just learning, and that's okay. I was the same way, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Not throwing shade, but you should get your numbers figured out.
Yeah. If there's one key takeaway from this report, it's that we're going to make a better report than Lawn and Landscape, and get your numbers right. All right, last page. Oh, another kind of ad. So yeah,
that's our competitor, dude. Brian Horn.
Editor, Lawn and Landscape. Yeah.
Is the editor's like the boss of a magazine? Or is there
we're up to a real strong start with our
I'm wondering what position I should ask for when we start ours.
Yeah. Yeah, editor's pretty important, I think. I feel like that's like the guy with the final say. Brian looks like a nice guy. Let's
Do you think he's threatened by AI? Like his role, not him, but like his
like he loses sleep at night. As an editor, I mean, I think Lawn and Landscape does a good job of not just being a print magazine anymore. They've gone digital, and like they're still a reputable source digitally. So I mean, I think like if they were just a magazine, it's less about AI and more just about like the changing of the times of technology. But I think they're doing fine.
I think he did just fine. It was more he did the best he could with what he was provided,
Yeah.
The data.
See, they really knew what was coming here. They set us up here. Like we kind of talked shit a little bit through this, and then they put the guy's face at the end, and now we all feel guilty.
Looks so nice.
I know. And now we feel guilty. Sorry, Brian. It was a fine job. Yeah. All right. Anything to add? Okay, wait. To close this out, like, what does it look like to you? What does 2025 look like to you? What are your predictions? Anything that you think like that's going to be kind of game changing for 2025?
We should have done prep on this part.
I know.
Not think of this. What do I think this year will be?
What does 2025 have in store? Is it just more of the same? You can certainly answer that if you want to be boring. Is there anything you think that like is going to be standout, sort of like new technology? Any big
one question at a time
industry?
there, big guy. I think so. My business and expertise is in maintenance for condos, which has got to be one of the most stable niches you can choose, I think. You know, like it's a customer type where they have to hire a landscape and snow company based on their bylaws. Like there's ways they could do it themselves if they get their own WCB and so on and so forth for small like apartment style condos, but big places, they're not going to go and buy big equipment and do it themselves typically. So it basically rides recessions really well. It's guaranteed. They're long, you know, typically in our case, 3-year contracts. And for that, I think that's a very stable source of revenue that will just carry on. I think that slowly staffing is harder and harder to find, but it's what we were talking about earlier. Like that challenge will just increase over time. Like people are just, it feels like there's just far less tradespeople available, and with older generations retiring and things like that, you know, that just whittles down the available population to hire. And I think it just comes down to being a really, really good employer and attracting those staff to solve that problem. And then what else? What other components would you look at? Like, I think the pricing is always a concern, like the margins, but that again, like you can combat that through providing value in different ways. So one of the best things, the best advice that really stuck with me, Aaron Kurbis actually told me this from BTA.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen her for a while.
Seen her for a while either, but I was thinking of lowering our prices because we, you know, our rate of like our success rate on estimates was pretty low, and we needed to win more. And she said, add more, you know, think of ways to add more value at a low cost without lowering your price first. And what that meant was having like a really dialed sales process, or you know, maybe having better uniforms, like things that don't cost a ton of money but appear to be higher value to the customer and are higher value to the customer. And then you can try to hold your pricing, and that worked. So although the margins might get some pressure on them, that's one suggestion for that. I mean, in my area, I think it's going to be basically the same this year. Canada has a lot of immigration and things happening, especially to my city in Calgary. So even immigration within Canada from Toronto and Vancouver, there's a lot of people moving to Calgary for a bit cheaper housing and things like that. So we have a lot of people available for work, a lot of like unexperienced people, but having a strong training program helps solve that. There's almost always a solution. You just have to think ahead.
Cool. Any like big risks that you see? I know we're playing armchair quarterback here and just like kind of like winging some things out there, but we have some expertise in the industry. Mm-hmm. Anything you see is trending to like a big potential risk to watch out for in 2025?
I can't think of anything fresh in 2025.
Okay.
I think, you know, I think for people doing single family homes or residential construction, for example, things where someone can just decide not to spend it. Yeah. You know, like those are the services where you might be wise to diversify your business into some other areas that are not like that, like condo maintenance, for example. You know, the first thing that you're gonna cut is, like, if you own your own residence, is your own grass. You're gonna cut your landscaper and cut your own grass, right? So yeah, I just think that that's not necessarily a new thing, but I can't think of anything huge that's coming. I don't think like technology is going to come and disrupt us terribly in 2025 or anything like that. I'd be on the watch for new softwares and other companies just kicking your butt because they're taking advantage of that. Or just to take advantage of, maybe like big competitors that are shutting down because there's so many people retiring and shutting their businesses down, or private equity coming in. I see those kind of things continuing this year.
Yeah.
You got anything
Cool.
that you're thinking that you're not saying?
I've got a few things. Like I think we're seeing some of this stuff already, and I just see it continuing in 2025. The big one for me is like you kind of just alluded to this, but especially on the residential side, larger average job size is going to shrink. Like people are going to start. I mean, we were also pretty spoiled during the pandemic, right? Like our industry was. People had more money actually during the pandemic because it was being pumped out in the form of stimulus checks and things of that nature, and they were sitting at their house looking at their yard. So
Mhm.
and they needed to make a space that they felt comfortable in. Like that was the only place they could be. So saw a
Yeah.
lot of big jobs, and that's just going to continue to decrease. I think like I do think that we're going to see there's the potential, I should say, for a little bit tighter economy, all those sorts of things. Like it's been being predicted forever. Whether or not we see it in 2025, I would just say like it's smart to prepare for it regardless. But I do think that those larger average job size are going to continue shrinking. We already saw that in 2024. So like the smart move is just like figure out what you do well that you can scale back a little bit as far as like total ticket price, right? Like if you're typically like this big design build firm that does like full installs start to finish, like maybe you could just focus on something you do really well within that, like just patios, right? Like it's like that one little thing, like whatever it is, like lean into those things. I see a lot of guys shifting more to like the enhancement model, the guys who are like full service, who have design build, but also a maintenance side and also do like the small enhancements. I see a lot of guys getting a lot more
We should do an
profit.
episode just on that, just on like
Yeah.
how to do enhancements really, really well inside of your maintenance business. Because I think I had a great conversation with one of our issue ID customers this week in Dallas,
Yeah.
and they are primarily a construction company by revenue. Like they do maintenance, a good amount of maintenance, but it's like maybe 20% or something. And you naturally think of enhancements as you do construction when you're primarily a construction company, and putting like kind of like piecing together quotes instead of standardizing them. And yeah, I'll take a note. We should do a full episode just on that, I think.
Cool.
One more quick, I thought of what I had lunch today with one of the irrigation guys in town that we refer work to, and he was talking about the water restrictions in our city. And water restrictions have been new to Calgary. Like the first time the city ever put them in place was like 3-4 years ago, something like that. And they've kind of gotten worse and worse, or more restrictive and more restrictive, depending how you want to look at that. And that really affects, it affects even maintenance and construction and enhancements when it slows you down on, you can't plant new trees if you can't water them, kind of thing. And really hurts irrigation companies, of course. So I would imagine that water restrictions over time will just get tighter and tighter all across Canada and the US. And there's regulation being put in place in Calgary around how much water you basically need to be, like how much usage you need to be reducing by compared to a baseline. And it's metered, of course, so they can tell. So eventually they're going to get very strict on that kind of thing. And I think that is something to stay on top of for sure.
Yeah, I would also just list that, like you mentioned, that it's really challenging for irrigation guys, but I would list that as like an opportunity as well. In fact, in our like SWOT analysis of our company, we list that as a huge opportunity because we already lean into like smart irrigation stuff, and frankly, you can charge more for smart irrigation solutions, and like that's the way the industry is leaning. So like again, I know I like really harped on this on the episode about like lessons from the music industry. But like my biggest takeaway with this is like there's some of these things, like watch the trends and be aware of the trends and recognize that like when you start to see these things line up over and over again, like some of them are inevitable and they're coming. So like instead of resisting and thinking like, how do we fight this? How do we stop this from happening? Maybe start leaning into like, where's the opportunity there? If there's regulations coming for the water side of things and that sort of thing, like, can you just be the best at smart irrigation? Like, you're going to clean up then. Like, let everyone else fight it and drag their feet and be the ones who miss out on that opportunity. So I'd reiterate that. Other things, like, I do think that we're going to continue to see the labor market get tighter, especially in the States. I think that's just inevitable with some of the, the political landscape right now and some of the changes that are being made. Like, there's going to be more people competing for the same labor pool in the United States. I think that's just inevitable. It's a given. And then as far as like big risks this year, I don't want to be like an alarmist because I don't think it's like highly likely. But there's just, especially in the States, there's just a lot of weird stuff going on right now. There's a lot of like turmoil between two different sides. And yeah.
Never heard about that.
I would just say, like, I think there is, like, I'll call it a 20% chance that like something big and weird happens this year.
Well, there's 100% chance of that. Something
no,
big
I
and
mean
weird.
like equivalent to like a global
It's like
pandemic.
an elephant gets loose at the San Diego Zoo. Is that big and weird?
I'm saying like equivalent with like global pandemic in 2020.
Oh,
Like, I'm not saying that's what it'll be. I'm not the one to like guess that, but I just like, I sense a lot of stuff happening right now, and there's a potential that, again, I think it's like a 20% chance, but that's pretty big chance, right? Like, for something of that nature.
Yeah.
So, again, like, we can't predict these things. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. We don't know what's going to happen. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, is just make sure that you have your house in order and that you're prepared for whatever might come at you, that you're ready for that labor market to get tighter, that you're ready for the average job size to decrease. Like, just make sure that you're running like a healthy business with the business fundamentals in place, and then you'll be able to be agile and pivot on those things. So that's all I got.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. What was your beer rating? What are you drinking?
Oh, this is Crispy Tall Boys. I don't know what spelled like Avril Lavigne spelled boys, or maybe that's some beer related thing. I don't know. It's a Pilsner from Jasper Brewing Company. And Jasper is like the lesser known Banff of Alberta, but equally, if not more, beautiful. Highly recommend checking it out. I'm going to just give this a simple 8.2.
All right. Cool. For mine, Juicy Banger IPA from Station 26.
I don't like hearing you even say that.
It's consistent.
Cringe,
it's always
cringy, as the kids would say.
It's always good. This is a great beer. I'm going to give it a good out of 10.
Okay.
For this one. Yeah.
That's basically 8.2.
Yeah. I think we did a pretty good job for just winging it and reading a magazine. I feel like hopefully there's some nuggets in here on this one.
Yeah.
And also hopefully we don't get
part
sued.
of the episode?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you didn't like clap your hands or whatever they do on the cut. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. This episode was the least prepared we've ever done one, and we're just a little bit behind on episodes, so we just got to bang them out. I think we'll do another one immediately after this,
which will be
Jason's up for it.
More drunk. It'll be a more drunk episode. Cool.
Yeah. So
yeah. Thanks, Lawn and Landscape.
Sorry we were hard on you. I actually enjoy your thing, and
your thing.
I would like to go on a tour of your, well, I don't know, your shop or whatever, your print. I was gonna say your like print. I always like that show, like how it's made.
Yeah.
And so I like factories, but then I was just thinking, like, do they even print this stuff anymore?
How about this? Instead of doing that, just go to the
free sponsorship.
No, well,
in their magazine. That'd be cool.
You just criticized them for an hour, and now you're asking.
No, I was just having fun. We're just having fun.
All right.
We will trade sponsorships. We'll give you a free sponsorship on the prestigious beer garden. It'll be like a 5-minute long ad. And all we want is 1/2 page.
No,
Any page.
I want to change that. All we want is a free booth at the Lawn and Landscape Technology Conference.
Oh, that's the same.
Yeah.
Oh, now I feel like I
Now
screwed
you've
up
done
by
it.
making fun of them. I always wanted to go to that expo.
Yeah, I have went, and if you haven't gone to the London Landscape Technology Conference, I highly recommend it. All of like the kind of cutting edge technology, from robotic mowers to software to all sorts of different stuff. Very cool. Now it turned into a plug all of a sudden at the end. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. We're happy to be back in 2025. We've got a lot of cool stuff in the hopper for you this year, and looking forward and wishing everyone a very successful year. Thanks very much.